Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 26th of March, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar. Dollar sinking lower again this morning. You see just another push down there. We've activated now two downside targets, one of 1.5% and the other one at 2.8% downside. So it does look like the dollar will make new lows on the dollar index. So that's significant. So weak dollar still hanging over the markets. We see then that the euro is looking bullish against the dollar uh, based on that dollar weakness. Japanese yen, the dollar is actually up slightly this morning, so we're not seeing that the yen is actually weaker there, weaker than that dollar weakness. And sterling is up against the dollar on dollar weakness. And we've got these upside targets of 142.70, or 142.30 and 144. So it does again look like sterling will improve slightly against the dollar. And the euro, we're seeing sterling just holding flat here at the moment. So it does look like we're just testing that support level of the cloud. And against the Swiss franc, sterling is just pushing a bit higher as well. Against the Aussie dollar, we're seeing here, we're sitting at that 183 level, so just holding that level again flat here. So the most of the moves that we're seeing in currencies at the moment are about dollar weakness. Um, Bitcoin down 0.75% at $8,400. It did turn bearish on Friday, back into the bearish zone. So at the moment, Bitcoin looking bearish, but a real shortage of downside targets. Keep an eye on the 1 minute charts if you're trading Bitcoin. The S&P 500 index was down 2% on Friday. So US markets had a pretty bad week all round, and we see that just in the weekly candle here, really big closing lower, the lowest close really since December, December and November time last year. We were lower, of course, in February, but this is a weekly closing low. So we're seeing the market turning bearish in the medium term and in the short term, starting to look very, very much like a top now for the US markets. And if we look at the Nasdaq, of course, the tech has driven things in the new year up and then down again. Tech did make a new high, but the Nasdaq falling away, looking pretty weak. Still above the February closing levels, so not making new closing lows like the S&P, but still worrying nonetheless. And we are bearish short term. And the same with the Dow. The Dow actually closing lower, a new closing low, back to the sort of levels that we saw in November last year. Medium term now, the lagging line through the cloud. Didn't go through the cloud on the first sell-off, but on the second sell-off it has. This is looking like the lower low, which would be bearish for the market. And the Russell 2000, the broader based index, was also down 2%. So all in all, markets had a pretty bad week, and we're just turning bearish here as well. So on the medium term, so looking lower. Although the futures are looking stronger this morning, we're up 1% on the S&P future, and the Nasdaq E-mini is up 1.2%. So it does look like we will see a recovery. The lagging line not through on the future chart, so we might just see a recovery at the opening today, and a stronger performance. FTSE up slightly this morning, but still looking very bearish. FTSE mid 250 mid caps is up as well, not as bearish as the FTSE 100, hasn't managed to make a new low. The German DAX is also just touching the support level here, but looking better this morning, up nearly 0.5%. The CAC Quarante also up 1/3% this morning, but still looking pretty bearish on the charts. And the Japanese market was up also a little bit this morning, overnight, but still looking pretty bearish. So these are just all small recovery actions to the sell-off, really. The Hang Seng also was down over the week, but just recovered slightly. The Chinese market looking pretty worrying, coming back to test new lows, and the Indian market, the Sensex is up 1/3%, but still bearish in the short and medium term. And the Australian market sold off heavily on Friday, and has had another small sell-off overnight, so just struggling there, down 0.5% and testing the February lows already, so looking less good there as well. The Brent crude oil hitting $70 on Friday, and now through that level and just sitting above $70. So looking strong, and we've got targets of 71, 74, 71, 17. So it looks like we've got further to run on this move. So Brent crude looking pretty good. WTI, much the same picture as you'd expect. And we've got still a 12% upside target to $74 there. So quite a good potential. And 73.28 is the medium term. Again, 12% upside. So looking good. US nat gas is below the $2.60 level, $2.58. So looking like it's coming back to test these February lows. Nothing as near as positive as the oil price chart. Gold had a very strong end to the week last week. We're just flat this morning, but we've got this new upside target, 1382, activated, and if we get to 1382, that would be a breakout for gold, and has potential to run then much higher. We've got targets then into 1500, 1700 even. So gold has a lot of potential to rise if we can get through that level. Silver also rose quite strongly on Thursday, Friday. Still not looking quite as good as the gold chart on the medium and long term picture, but that's still looking pretty good on the short term. And if we look at the US 10-year yields on bonds, recovering off the bottom, sitting at 284 at the moment, still in bearish mode there. And of course, the big movers on Friday in the US were tech. Apple was down quite significantly, down at a good 2.3%. A lot of things were down about 2 and 3% on the day. So Apple's back into bearish territory on the medium-term chart. We had Alphabet, Amazon also just selling off now, having had an amazing run, and now just bearish below the cloud. Google was also falling away on Friday, and so we're seeing just this sell-off across the board here, not hitting its February low yet, but going into medium term on the chart and a closing low on the weekly. And then, of course, the big story last week was Facebook, and Facebook was off a further 3.5% last week on Friday, and so we've seen Facebook really just deteriorating here, making new lows all the way back to the summer, and so Facebook really selling off here. We've still got further to fall based on the targets that we're seeing. This target of 161 now passed, of course, 141, 144, 150. So Facebook still looking pretty bearish on the medium and short term charts. The long term, of course, has quite a long way to fall before we'd be through that trend. Keep an eye out on the 1 minute charts if you're trading Facebook. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.